Hey everyone, I'm Mecca here from my self-publishing-blueprint.com, and I got a very, very, very special guest here. This is Dave. Dave, I should have checked on your last name. Is it Chesson? Chesson?
Chesson. Yep.
Chesson from Kindlepreneur.com. And if you're like me, you have followed Dave's blog, you have followed his videos, and I am a raving fan of him. He puts out so much great, great, great information for the Kindle publishing world that I have been looking forward to this video interview ever since he confirmed. So Dave, welcome to the channel, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So let's dive in. We got a whole list of things we want to talk on, and I did some Q&A inside my Facebook group on people so they could ask you questions. So I'll get to those as well. But for those of you or for the people who might not know your story and how you ended up becoming the Kindlepreneur, can you share your background, share your story?
Sure. Well, I've always been kind of a number focused person, but with an artistic side. When I joined the military, I was a nuclear engineer. And so I was really hardcore in the numbers and doing all that and always trying to figure out how things work. But the truth is that I've always had kind of that whole, like I said, artistic side that I wasn't feeding. I got into military diplomacy, so then I was doing the artistic thing, I guess. But the truth was, my wife and I looked at what we saw as a definition of success, and it wasn't being an admiral, it wasn't being, 30 years in the military or anything like that. So we started to relook at our lives and say, what do we want? And the truth was to be able to be home instead of deployed all the time, to be with my family, with my kids, doing something that allowed me to combine both the numbers and the art together. And when we started doing the research, it became apparent to us that one opportunity was something working online, online business. So I started building niche websites. I really got into search engine optimization, SEO. And I didn't come over to self-publishing until I was looking at my websites and saying to myself, how do I productize this more? How do I make more money? And I realized I had a whole website on one particular subject. So I started putting those into a book, selling them on to Amazon. And next thing you know, it was a wonderful system. I started to really enjoy it. But then I had my aha moment. And that was when I realized that Amazon is just like Google. It's a search engine. People go to Amazon, they type in whatever it is they're looking for, and Amazon tries to put products based off of what they think they want. And so as the engineer guy, again, I looked at Amazon and said, why is it that you chose this book over that book? Why is it that when I type in this, you give me these options? And so I started to really nuke it out and try to figure it out. And right from there was how Kindlepreneur.com was born.
That's awesome. When did the blog officially open? When did it start?
Boy, I think that's about 2.5 years ago. But the truth is, I don't think it ever really became popular or even known until like after the first year. So, but nowadays though, we get about 100,000 visitors per month. So it's kind of crazy.
It's growing. It's growing, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's also weird too. It's making me grow a lot more too.
I could imagine. Do you know roughly how many blog posts you've done in the last 2 years?
Maybe only 20 or 30.
Really?
Yeah, we only publish one every 2 weeks. And the reason being is that the truth is it takes a long time to write these. Matter of fact, one of my articles took 8 months to write.
Wow.
And most of the time it's because, like in this case, it was my article on how to sell books using Quora. And I did this experiment and I found out that it was insanely successful. I had over 110,000 people in 1 month's work read my stuff, and something like 20,000 came to my website and something like 1,000 bought something because of this effort. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. But then I didn't want to stop there though. I didn't want to just write this giant success story and get everybody, crazed about it. What I wanted to know was if I stopped working on it, what would happen? Would all of a sudden all that effort just drop off the face of the earth, or could I lean back and enjoy, my times in the sun and the beach, and still get my paycheck? And I gave it about 3-4 months or so to see the numbers drop, and they dropped like a rock. It was done. So the true answer and conclusion to that article was to state that yes, Quora is a viable way to drive people to your books. However, comma, it's also like blowing air into a balloon that has a hole in it. Because if you stop blowing air into it, it will deflate. You got to repump the air back in. So you got to ask yourself, am I prepared to work on this thing, every other day just to be able to get the results that I saw? So that's why we take so long in these articles. And I say we because I now have an editor. As people who've read my original stuff, they know I need an editor. Grammar's never been my thing.
Yeah.
I'll admit that.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. What now I'm curious about the Quora. So do you have somebody who keeps feeding that, or is it just you're done the experiment, it's done?
I think it's a wonderful side tactic. I think that especially for like fiction, it does great because say, for example, you wrote a book that is likened to another famous book people like. You'd be surprised how many people go to Quora that say, hey, I like the book Ready Player One. What kind of books do you think I should read next? And people will create these giant lists. Well, if you deserve to be in that type of book, then that's a wonderful way to make sales. Matter of fact, I did an experiment with somebody else's book on that exact example. And sure enough, not only did he have a spike in sales, but he's gotten a tweet or two from time to time saying that they found this Quora thread and that, they bought his book and they loved his suggestion. And we even took a screen capture of that and put it inside the article. So, I mean, not even making that up. So, I think it's a wonderful side tactic for fiction, but for nonfiction, it gives you an ability to build an authority, on a subject. If you're talking about PTSD and you're the one who seems to be answering the questions that people are upvoting the most, you'll quickly build into this person that people see as the PTSD expert. And that was just off the top of my head. But again, there are so many different tactics out there. One of the biggest things that I want to stress to anybody listening here is that I'm not recommending to people to try to do multiple things.
Mhm.
I recommend you choose one and you stick it hard. You'll see the best results because of that. You look at someone like Mark Dawson. He's incredibly successful, not because he did a couple of Facebook ads, but because he mastered Facebook and he has like just polished and shined and made that skill so awesome that he can make sales where other people aren't. So just keep that in mind as you start looking for what it is you want to do to be your traffic driver for your books.
That's awesome. You know what? Let's touch on this right now. You said really just focus on one thing. The shiny object syndrome. That's something I've talked about on my channel, and I've seen. I'm sure you see it as much as I see it, and it frustrates me. It upsets me when I see, I'm talking to people and they're like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about doing, affiliate marketing, or I'm thinking about getting into this as well, and they're still struggling to get. They're not even swimming in the Kindle business. They're barely treading water, yet they're looking at all these other opportunities online. Talk to those people. What advice can you give them? Help them stop from drowning themselves.
The best thing you can do is to pick one platform to exist on, one traffic generating skill, and one product. Okay. Where you start to get into trouble is when you're like, oh, I should do a podcast. I need a website and I should start a Facebook, group. Well, those are three different platforms. Now you've split, 1/3 of your efforts are now going to be split into three different individuals over here. And you haven't even done any traffic yet, or you haven't even worked on your product yet. And most of us, especially when we're starting off, we have a 9-to-5 job. We have kids that are like, calling for us. How are you going to be able to do that? And what you'll end up seeing is you're just spinning your wheels, running around in all these different directions, and you'll never make any legitimate forward progress. You're just going to spin your wheels and you're going to get tired. And like most people do, you'll end up quitting. Whereas if you say that I'm going to make the best podcast possible and I am going to learn, and master Facebook ads and use that to drive people to my podcast, and then I'm going to create a product that I can sell on my podcast, you will now start to see much better and faster results than if you try to do all these things. And for us authors, that's the same is true. Hopefully your mastered product is creating a great book. Now the question is what is the platform that you will use to grow yourself more? What is the traffic source or skill that you're going to use so that you become the next Mark Dawson of Facebook, that you become the next Dave Chesson of SEO, that you become, and so on. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think hopefully that'll resonate with those people watching for sure. Um, Tell me about so Kindle publishing. How has it really changed and impacted your life over the last few years here?
well, I went from a guy who spent the past 3 out of 4 years deployed on the other side of the world without my kids. That's 3 years that I'll never get back. I missed their first steps. I missed their first words. I didn't miss any of the births, though. Thank goodness. Almost happened once, but whew, made it. And so I'm never going to get that back. But because of the efforts I made, when I wasn't working, that I was trying to build something. And because of the opportunities that Amazon has given us through Kindle Direct Publishing, which I never would have gotten if it wasn't for KDP. I'm not a amazing, incredible writer to the point that I would get a book deal that wouldn't mess me over. Because let's face it, most of the time when we get a book deal, it's like, great, you get 10%. And how are you going to sell this book? It's like, wait, what's that? I thought you guys were going to sell the book. I never would have gotten that. And so I'm very thankful for what Amazon has done. I thank the Lord that they really shook it up the way they did in the publishing world. And it allows for us to get our voices out there and to get our products. So this has been incredible. And come past August, I was able to get fully out of the military. And I'm at home in Franklin with my family. And right now, my son's upstairs watching Minions, and my daughter is at her second day of kindergarten, and I'm here. So I'm blissfully happy.
That's awesome, man. As as a fellow father myself, I got a 2-year-old daughter, and missing anything. It's
Yeah.
yeah, you just don't want to, and that's I think especially in 2017, the opportunity to make money. It doesn't even have to be a ton, but an opportunity to make money that gives you the opportunity to spend more time with the people you want to spend time with, or just go out and do the things that you really want to do.
Right.
It's never been easier. There's never been more options. It's just something that I personally, that's one of my driving missions. It's just to help make that extra $1,000 in somebody's pocket so they can figure out, hey, I can do this, and just make a difference for them.
The most important thing I'll tell people, though, is that when your motivation is to just have a certain amount of money, you're setting yourself up for some failure.
Mm-hmm.
What you really need to look at is, what is your definition of success, right?
Right.
Is it money? Okay. But what is the money for, right? Why is it that you are ready to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get those 1,000 words written? Because an extra $100 in your pocket isn't what's going to get you up.
Right.
It's the fact that you miss your kid's birthday.
Totally.
The fact that you go to your job and you hate your life over it,
Mm-hmm.
that you want to make a difference. Those are the things that will really get you to keep in it, because this is not easy. This is not one of those where we're going to become rich. It comes from a lot of sacrifice. For me, I stopped watching movies. I no joke, and anybody who's read my stuff knows that I'm a movie. What do they call it? A cinephile, I believe they call it, right? I also stopped reading my science fiction books. A lot of writers would say that's blasphemous. You got to always read, but I did. I said, you know what? All those, if you added, I think I was watching like one movie a day, or at least a couple of TV shows, and and I was probably spending about an hour reading. That was 3 hours a day that I was wasting for my own personal enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I instead took those 3 hours every day and I invested them into building the things we see, to writing that next book, to
Right.
experimenting, exploring, and growing in my skills.
Right. That's awesome, Dave. It's I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm living down in Mexico, and we had a family reunion thing yesterday, and they're like, "So do you speak fluent Spanish now? You've been there for 2 years." I'm like, No, speaking Spanish is not a priority. It's just, I don't have the mental capacity for that. I am focused
Right.
purely on building the business. I don't have time to sit down and think another language for an hour or two, because that's an hour or two I could use to build the business, so that when the time is right, I can sit down for 3 months and fully understand how to speak fluent Spanish when the time is right.
Well, and you know, a funny inside story to that too, for myself is that I was building the business, but I wasn't like being very vocal about it on my personal Facebook profile or anything like that. And so finally, I went to tell my family outside of my wife, you know, like my mother and father and grandparents and all that. I was like, yeah, I'm getting out of the military. You have to understand, my family,
Are
every
they
one of them's been in the
military?
military.
Yeah, they're a
Yeah,
military
I've got
family.
the coolest picture in the wall upstairs where it's got me and my choker whites from when I graduated, my father and his, my grandfather and his, and on the left is my mother's father and his father, all in their military getup. And so I tell them, yeah, I'm getting out of the military. And they're like, what? They're like, why are you doing that? You have 11 years in, you just need 9 more. And I'm like, yeah, 9 more years. Like, are you serious? But even worse is that they all were like, so what are you going to do? It's like, oh, well, I'm doing this online business. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like, what's your online business? Oh, I have a website. You blog? And I'm like, yeah, just a little. And they're all like, well, do you think that's really smart? Like, I mean, you have a family to take care of? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I really never talked to you guys about this beforehand. So a lot of them thought that it was absolutely immature or crazy of me to do what I'm doing.
Right.
But I've since assured them that I'm making a lot more money than I did while I was in the military, and I'm a lot happier. So one thing is that for all the authors out there, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people, unless they're in this world and they're working on it, they'll never understand it. And one of the most important things that you can do to ensure your success, not only now, but continued, is to ensure that your spouse fully understands it. I never would have gotten where I am today. I never would have even come close to this if I hadn't have had the direct support of my wife, who has been with me every step of the way.
That's awesome, man. That's such a key thing, to make sure you have that support of your partner there. So
Because when you sacrifice something from your life, right, that they're missing out on the movie with you, right? They're missing
totally.
out on the reading. So just get that buy-in. It's incredibly important.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Hey, let's dive into some technical stuff about Amazon and about publishing. Why don't we talk about first, what are, in your experience, what are some of the more overlooked areas when publishing a book?
Well, you know, it's funny. I would have to say book descriptions. I think that's the one area where people don't spend enough time. And a lot of this happens because, you know, it's almost the last thing you have to do before you hit publish, right? You're in Kindle Direct Publishing and here you are, and they're like, oh, book description. You're like, oh, crap. You know, what was that thing? And we quickly throw it together. And at first, I used to think, well, I rarely ever read the book description, sort of. So I don't really think it's that important. But just recently, we were able to prove that it is more important than you think. We probably everybody's heard of AMS, Amazon Marketing Services. It's the ability to basically advertise your book to shoppers on Amazon, and you only pay if the person clicks on your advertisement, right? Well, what's wonderful about this that a lot of people don't realize is that it gives you information about where you failed in your book. And what I mean by this is that when you set up an advertisement, okay, Amazon is showing it to your market. Okay. They are showing it to people who not only are interested in that kind of book or that phrase or whatever, they are people who they're ready to buy. Now, if you do this, okay, and you have, you know, Amazon will tell you, hey, 30,000 people saw your advertisement today and only one person clicked on it. That right there tells you that your book cover is not intriguing them, or your title is not, you know, within the genre or the feel, or again, intriguing them, or you've got really bad reviews, you know, and that's deterring them. Now, if you see that you have lots of clicks, okay, you have, you know, 50, 60, 70 clicks, but you have 0 sales. Now, the only reason why that happened was because your book description. And why this is because this person was shopping, they're ready to buy. They saw your cover, your advertisement, right? But they saw the cover. They're like, oh, that looks good. They clicked on it. And the only thing left that they haven't seen is your book description. And that didn't cause them to say, all right, let me just go ahead and pick it up now. Let me buy it. That is where we're failing. And there are so many people who are doing AMS and they're taking away the whole hard part of finding the market. They're taking, they're getting people onto their sales page and they can't close the deal. So from here, we can statistically see that a lot of people are failing here. And some of the advice that I would give to you immediately is that when you write your book description, spend 80% of your time on that first sentence and 20% on the rest of it. And the reason why you need to spend 80% of time right there, okay, is two things. Number one, we are lazy. We are shoppers, and we can quickly hit back if it doesn't grab us by the neck, right? And if your first sentence doesn't make me want to read on, I will just quickly hit back and leave. Number two, Amazon only shows that first sentence, and that you got to get me to act and click to see more to read the rest of it. So that little blurb, that first sentence on the top, is the only part I see, and it's the thing that makes me either click to see more, click to see buy, or click back. So 80% of your time on that first sentence, 20% on the bottom. And I'll leave with a case study too. A while ago, as some of you might have seen, I was contacted by Galaxy Press, who is the marketing division for L. Ron Hubbard. And one of my favorite books is Battlefield Earth. I read it a long time ago as a kid. And it's a part of the reason why I'm a pretty big sci-fi fan. Well, they were having troubles and they wanted some consulting. So I went into their, to their system. They were doing AMS, and I quickly saw what we just talked about. Lots of people seeing it, lots of people clicking it, little to no people buying. And so we dug into their book description, and sure enough, that was the issue right there. It was more of a book report than it was a book description. It gave too many details. It actually took me through the story. It talked about things that I had no invested interest in knowing. So instead, what we did was we really focused on that first sentence, grabbing them with intrigue and curiosity, and then driving the rest of the description by showing the implications of the story, the bigger picture, and having, rhetorical questions or things that bring the reader to say to themselves, whoa, what would happen if that happened? And then finally ending it with a call to action that ties in the title with the story we just talked about. So it feels like it's all symbiotic. And when we did that, they immediately saw over 2 times the increase in conversions from that right there. They doubled their conversion rate, and they were making a lot more money from the same efforts that they were doing before.
Wow. Wow. I'm sure that could help a ton of people just generate more sales with, what they currently have going on.
Yeah, if your sales page, aka your book page, can't get somebody to buy, no matter how much effort you do in Facebook ads, no matter how much effort you do in AMS or any of the other things, you're losing out on potential customers because you're not convincing them to buy. So it's kind of like, trying to make your car look awesome, but your engine doesn't work yet. It's
Right.
like, you might want to get that car going first before you paint the sides and make it look pretty cool.
That's a good analogy. Would you suggest AMS for every single book, or do you only do it for some of your better sellers, or what's your take on that?
Well, I've seen certain books. I've worked on a couple of people's books, and I've never really seen any particular subject or book that actually failed, except for the ones that are illegal. Like Amazon has certain books they don't want to put, or certain subject matters. But some have done way better than others, and I think a lot of that's dependent on the niche. It also depends on the needs of the author. But what I have definitely found that it is super useful for is when you do your book launch, right? Momentum is very important. Keeping a continuous stream of people coming to your book really helps you in your rankings, your sales, your discoverability for longer period of time. So a lot of the big book launch people will make sure to kind of have, okay, this is when I do the free promotion. This is when I change the price. This is when I do BookBub ads. This is when I do the paid promotions. Like, I've got a whole list of them. I'm blanking right now.
Mhm.
But then my email list. I'm going to have my email list, and they're just keeping weeks of continuous traffic sources. Well, one of the best ways to get continuous traffic as well is AMS. So it's a
Mhm.
way to really beef up that momentum and keep it going instead of, it just dwindling. So I see it not only have the effect of sales, but it also helps you to get the momentum going, even if you don't have a giant email list or Facebook skills and stuff like that.
Awesome. What are some other areas that you think are kind of overlooked by new publishers or even experienced publishers?
Well, I definitely say another thing that people do is they miss out on potential opportunities of future sales. Okay. What that means is that, say you've sold 1,000 books.
Hmm.
That means there were 1,000 people that went to Amazon, loved loved what your product was promising, picked it up and bought it. They paid money. Those, you go to any business and somebody who's bought your product before is much more likelier to buy a future product than those that aren't.
Hmm.
And that stems from, and the only way that we can reach out to them again is to get their email address.
Right.
So a lot of first-time authors are like, well, I'll do that later. I'm like, whoa, you're missing out on that momentum we just talked about, right? You're missing out on the huge download list, these other people that were interested in your subject. Don't take that for granted. But let me split that tactic into two types. There's the best tactic for fiction and the best tactic for nonfiction.
Please.
Uh, for fiction, I believe the greatest way to convince somebody to sign up for your email list is not to offer a free short story. It is not to just say, join my list. What it is, the best way to do it is to offer an inside story to the story they just read. Okay. When somebody finds your book for the first time in fiction, they don't know who you are. They don't really care who you are. If you ask them midway through that story, even if they love it, they probably won't remember your name yet. They are invested in the story that's in their hands. They haven't decided that they love you as an author or your writing style yet. So don't try to just pan off another story on them that they have maybe they don't even care about it. But they have proven, if they've gotten to the end, that they care about this story. So give them something more to the story, like a prelude, like, when you're writing your fiction, make sure there's an inside story that you don't explain inside the book, and then make that the story they get. Like, um, the lady kept talking about her first date with so-and-so and how horrendous and crazy it was. And other characters throughout the book keep mentioning that. Be like, hey, would you like to read the story on that date and find out why everybody kept talking about it?
Yeah.
Boom, curiosity killed the cat. You better believe it. There you go. As an author, once you've had the fact that they read the first story and now they've read your short story and you have their email address, you're starting to brand yourself. They're starting to remember your name. They're starting to think about you. And that is how you start to become not just the book that they read, but the author that they want to read. Now, shifting tactics to nonfiction. A lot of people know that I'm big into keywords and understanding what it is people are typing into Amazon. Those words, right? Those keywords are like kind of an inside scoop into what it is people truly want. What are their words to describe the pain point they have and what they want solved. Now, what's incredible is not only does it give you book ideas, but it also gives you an understanding of what you can offer them for an email signup. Case in point is Jeff Goins, a good friend of mine. He, just published a book called Real Artists Don't Starve. And the
Hmm.
purpose of the book is to teach people that, you don't have to be a starving artist to be a good artist. You can make money with art, and you have to get through these things to get there. It's an incredible book. But when we did the SEO research in Amazon, trying to find out what it is people were typing, we found out that the number one search phase was not how to make money with art,
Hmm.
but how to make money with art online. There were more people typing out that longer phrase than the shorter phrase. And at that point, I said, look, Jeff, if you really want to be able to, you know, convert on the people who paid for your wonderful book, why don't you create like either a short book on how to make money online with art, or a checklist of all the platforms that they can go to start selling their art.
Mhm.
That has been proven inside the Amazon market that that's what people are looking for. And you can be the person that offers that to them for free so long as they sign up. So as you can see, we're now not guessing. We're now not hoping. We're creating content that we know the market on Amazon wants. And that is a much better strategy. So there you have it, fiction and nonfiction.
That's freaking golden. That those 2 points are yeah, no, that's great, because then you're taking away all the guesswork.
Right.
You're right. Yeah, there's no guesswork. You're looking at exactly what the market is asking for and giving it to them. Thus, you're going to get the results. That's awesome. That's awesome. Any other overlooked areas you think um, we should touch on?
Well, there's a lot out there. I mean, I could probably go on and on forever, but I think those are two of the biggest things that I think authors really need to think about. So just kind of recap on that is, yeah, make sure that you're able to convert people when you get them there.
Mhm.
Okay. And setting up for the long haul is the most important part. Setting up for future sales is very important. My website is called Kindlepreneur, Kindle Entrepreneur, because we're not looking at just making a book sale. We're looking at growing our business, as authors. And every book you write is a part of your business. So
Mhm.
think about the future sales, not just the immediate. And email is definitely one of the best ways to do that.
That's awesome. Hey, I want to touch on your free course that you're offering in a second, but Facebook ads, is that something people should be looking at, investing, learning? What are your thoughts on Facebook ads for either trying to create an email list or just trying to sell your book? What are some of your thoughts on that?
Facebook ads are one of the most incredible traffic generating skills out there. I'll put that out there, right? But notice I use the word skill. It is a skill. And it is, how do you build skill? Knowledge and a whole lot of experience. And when you put those together, you build something called intuition. And intuition is what makes mastery. I don't truly believe in the word mastery, but those who have lots of intuition are what we generally call the masters.
Mhm.
And the people like Mark Dawson are crushing it because they not only know how to do it, but they continue to focus on it and polish that skill, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback ever. That's right. Take that, Tom Brady fans. And he's there because every day he's working on that skill. So we need to think about it that way. If you're someone who's like, maybe I'll try it, I'm going to pay for this course, give it a go, then don't do it. Just save yourself that money and don't do it. Now, as it pertains to books, I believe if your goal is to set up a Facebook ad and drive someone from there straight to your book and make the sale, I think you're thinking about it way wrong. I don't think that it is easy by any means to do that. And let's look at the psychology of the person that goes to Facebook, right? We're not there to buy a book. We're there to look at cute puppy videos, see what our friends are up to, talk, update our family on what we're up to, those kind of things. So for you to be able to get somebody to buy your book, your ad has to be so awesome that it not only stops them in their tracks, gets them to click, takes them away from Facebook, okay, goes to Amazon and says, oh, I better stop what I'm doing, log in, take out my wallet, and purchase that book right now. Man, no, there aren't many people that are that good to be able to do it. Instead, where you should kind of think about Facebook is, all right, I know there are these people that love this certain type of book or subject. I really want to get their attention. I want to, use Facebook to get them on my email list. But I also know what to do with them once I have them so that I can grow the relationship, convince them that when I do have the book or I have that order, that call to action, that they're going to click and buy it. And I think that's the second part where a lot of people fail is they get the email and they're like, great, what do I do with it? These people aren't buying my book. Why? It's like, because they don't know who you are. You were just an ad. So there's a big system to it, and just getting them to sign up is a skill. But warming that relationship, that's all about knowing who you are as an author and as a brand. So I hope I kind of answered that. I think highly of Facebook but I think you really have to say, this is going to be my skill, my one traffic skill. And then you devote your time and effort to honing that skill and creating systems that will then convert for your product, which is your book.
So it's like going back to the focus on the one thing, right? Because if you're focusing on trying to understand Kindle and the Amazon platform, you taking all the time and energy that it's going to require to build up even a mediocre skill level with Facebook ads.
Yeah. My one skill that I would say that I have intuition, which is my way of saying, I guess, mastery, but I don't believe in the word. Lots of intuition is SEO. And the first 8 months of doing nothing but focusing and learning and experimenting with SEO, I didn't really make much money. It wasn't until after 8 months that I started to see like, fruits of all this labor coming in. But I wouldn't have called myself a master or having intuition for 2 years of doing just the one thing.
Mm.
So remember, this is skill. And I don't remember who it was, but there's something like 10,000 hours or so
Yeah.
to master a skill.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever the number is. If I
It's
butchered it,
10,000.
it is. Okay, good.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
10,000.
Yeah.
Well, that 10,000 was like 2 years. And even to this day, my SEO skills have improved. I've never done, well, I take that back. I've done a couple of Facebook ads, but
Mm-hmm.
I've never sat down and said, all right, this is my jam. I'm gonna do the next 2 years of watching this. So just something to consider out there.
One of my mentors, he was telling me, he's like, when I was asking him, it's like, so should I be looking at using Facebook ads, or I'm big on YouTube and I'm trying to understand SEO and all of that more. And he's like, Mecca, one of the dumbest things I did when I started was I was an entrepreneur, but then I decided to try to learn all of the SEO I can. He's like, just hire the expert in that field and have them do all of that for you, so you can focus on creating content and doing what you do best.
Yes. And but I'll caveat that to say that if you do hire somebody to do a particular skill, it's very important that you understand enough to be
Right.
able to manage it. The
Yes.
worst thing you could do is be like, I don't know anything about this Facebook stuff. Hey, you do the Facebook ads. The goal is make ads and sell this book. When you do that, you cause problems for either them and yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and or yourself. Because the truth is, the person may be doing everything perfect. They may be like, a freaking unicorn on their incredibleness, but you don't know this. And you're like, where's my money? Why you're so good? Why did I just lose $500? Like what the heck? And you fire them. And they're like, whoa, you just didn't give enough time, because anybody who does Facebook ads know that it takes time to learn the market, to figure out what's going inside that market's head, and then optimizing it all the way through, right? In
Mm.
SEO, the person could be doing the most amazing work, but you don't know that it actually takes at least like 3+ months before you see the fruition of your work.
Right.
Okay. Or in some cases, depending on the competitiveness, it could take 6 months, and you may fire that person before you even, and they were awesome.
Right.
Or the other thing could happen too. They're complete jackwagons. They really don't know what they're doing. They're just showing you a lot of stuff that kind of looks good, and you just keep paying them and you just never see the results. So for us to have peace of mind, to be able to focus on what we're doing, but knowing that our business is growing in the right direction, we should have an understanding of it so that we can see the signs and lead, as leaders in our organizations, not just task-based, airy-minded people on it.
If you could give 3 tips on SEO for Kindle, like your 3 top tips, easy ones, simple ones that people would be able to like implement today, what would they be?
Well, with SEO for Amazon or Kindle keywords, right? There's 3 things that we need to do right, and a lot of times people focus on one and they forget the other 2. The first thing is we need to know what we're targeting, right? We need to know what keywords we actually want, and to do that correctly, we need to know that the ones that people type into Amazon, that people spend money for books on that particular subject, and that the competition isn't so great that we can't beat them. So knowing which keywords we want to target because they actually provide results, that's number one. The second thing is making sure that Amazon registers your book for those keywords, okay? Back in the day when there wasn't as much competition, all you had to do was select one of your keywords as one of your 7 Kindle keywords and you would show up. But that doesn't exactly happen nowadays. Sometimes it takes more. That comes from having the keyword in your title, subtitle, book description, those kind of things. That tells the Amazon calculation, because that's what it is, that, oh yeah, this book, it should at least show up somewhere.
Right.
And then the third and final thing is convincing Amazon that not only should you show up for said keyword, but that you should be near the top. And a statistic I like to tell people is that on average, if you rank number 1 for a Kindle keyword, okay, you can expect 27% of all the people that type in that keyword will click on your book. But if you rank number 2, it's only 13%. And if you rank number 3, it's 9%. And it quickly drops down to like 5%.
Wow.
Okay. So just because you're ranking number 5, okay, does not mean you're benefiting from that keyword. You're only seeing a teeny bit. It might be awesome, but until you get up to like 3, 2, and 1, you're not seeing the fruits of said awesomeness. So let me go into specifics on the last one, which is how do you rank? So if there is a keyword that you really want to show up for, one golden nugget that I like to tell people is the tactic of, if you have, say, 5 or 10 people that are going to buy your book, instead of giving them the link and saying go buy it, tell them to please go to Amazon, type in that keyword, find your book, select it, and purchase it. That is the number 1 way of letting the A9 algorithm know that people want this book when they type in this keyword. Now, I'm not gaming the system, and I'm not making Amazon a worse place, because here's what happens, okay? When you do this, Amazon's algorithm says, oh, wow, this seems to be a very high converting book for this keyword. Let's go ahead and bring it up to the top. Awesome. You just got your chance. Okay. This is kind of like, hey, I just got you on the stage. Now you got to sing your song for the 3 judges to give you the thumbs up. If your song sucks, well, then you get off the stage and you're done. But if your song belongs up there, if your talent belongs up there, then congratulations, you're moving on to the next round. That's the same thing here. I'm just giving you great authors out there the opportunity to be seen. But once you get up to the top using this tactic, and you no longer have, people that are going to buy your book, typing in that keyword and then searching, what you'll find is that if your book isn't better than the other books, if your book cover doesn't fit with your keyword, if it doesn't induce clicking, if, you're trying to beat Guy Kawasaki on his subject, whatever it be, natural people will type in the keyword, and they're not going to select your book. They're going to select the ones under you. And as that starts to happen, you will drop back down to where you belong.
Right.
So it's just a great way for you get an opportunity to show up, and hopefully from the rest of your things, book cover, title, description, you prove that you should be there, and then you enjoy the fruits of that labor.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Here, let's get into some of the Q&A here. And then I want you to talk about the free course that you offer on AMS that I went through, and like it just completely blew my mind on just how much bigger AMS actually is. I'm just going to open up the Q&A here. Okay. All right. So, okay, first questions. The problems he had when he was starting out, the mistakes he made, and the time he took before he started seeing profits.
Well, yeah. So for me, I didn't focus on books when I started, so it's a little different. I focused on niche websites and SEO. And, like I said, it wasn't until like 8 months of really working on that skill that I started to see some type of fruit for my labor. And a lot of people would have probably considered that a failure. When I first started out, my first project brought me $1. And it took me like 2 months of like every waking moment working on it. Now, a lot of people would have quit. And to me, I saw that as like, oh my goodness, I can make $1. I really, really, really wish that it had been a physical dollar, because I would have put it in a frame and I'd had it on my wall. It would have been my Scrooge McDuck lucky dime, right?
Right.
But sadly, it was a digital dollar. So, and I wasn't smart enough to like cash it or something, whatever. But my point though is that I really worked on it, and I built up that skill, and it took me a long time. But I'm so happy that I stuck with it. because, all the things you've heard that we talked about came from all of those experiences, all of the testing and learning and growing, finding out that I'm wasting my time by just coming up with my own opt-in when I should just use the data that's out there. How do you find the data? Those sorts of things.
Right.
So, the other thing I'd recommend is something we hit on too, is that I started off by trying to do lots of little things. Oh man, these Facebook groups sound really awesome. Oh my Lord, those are a lot of work. And that takes away time from writing my next book. That takes away time from doing the skill I'm good at. That takes away time from, and it goes on and on. So make sure that you choose the things that you're going to do and hit them hard, but understand that it takes time and experience, because this is all skills, and skills, 10,000 hours.
Knowing what he knows now, what would he tell himself when he was starting out?
Well, I don't want to kind of answer the same thing or give the same answer, but I would say good job sticking to the one traffic skill, man. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But the one recommendation I'd give myself is that definitely look for a coach earlier than I did. It would have been wonderful having somebody who's already been there to give me the, hey, don't go down that avenue. I did that. That was a mistake. I'm going to save you a couple months right there so that you don't do that, make that boo-boo. So yeah. And the thing is that there's never a point where we're too far advanced to not have a coach. Today, I have a coach who's helping me to make the next steps to where I'm at. So you always grow, and, make sure you have the coach that's a little bit ahead of you. It doesn't have to be, a Guy Kawasaki.
Right.
I definitely wouldn't recommend that. The guy's on a whole nother universe than where we're at. But it has to be someone who's just a couple steps ahead of you.
Another question is, where does he see the book launch process going in the future?
Well, so there are a lot of like book launch plans that are out there. And by the way, anybody's looking, Tim Grahl or actually I think he now calls it booklaunch.com. He has a full-blown step-by-step plan. I think it's great. But as we popularize that plan, like I just did, more and more people will be using it, which means that its effectiveness goes down.
Right.
So if you are looking for long-term continuous book sales success, if you look at the people who are making a lot of money, you can always track that they have one particular skill. Mark Dawson is a Facebook guru, right? Nick Stevenson is an SEO guy. I'm an SEO guy. Pat Flynn has lots, but really the biggest thing for him was podcast. He used that to grow, and then he sent out his email and he made hundreds of thousands of dollars with his book. But they all have one particular thing that they really mastered, and that became their competitive advantage. So when they do the book launch plan, they have something more that the others don't, and that gives them that step up that makes them shine.
That's awesome. And then last question is, how do you promote a book and get legitimate reviews in 2017? I know this could be a huge question, but could you give some pointers and some tips on that?
Well, the first thing we need to understand is people don't understand the importance of reviews, except for us. We're the authors. How many times have you really thought, even when you buy something on Amazon, oh man, I should go back and leave a review because these leggings were really good? Like, no, we don't. We're like, we bought it and we move on.
Mhm.
And our friends and family, granted, as most of us know, those reviews might get removed because they're friends and family, but our friends and family don't understand that. They don't like, they may tell you, oh my goodness, this is such a great book. It was so life-changing. Great. Did you leave a review on Amazon? Oh yeah, I guess I should do that. And then guess what? They really don't. It's not because they don't love you. It's not because they're not your friends or family. It's just because of two things. One, they don't know the value of it. And two, it's so easy to forget it. So what I find with a lot of authors is, whether it's friends and family, or you have an email list, or you have people that are fans of your writing or willing to buy the book, but we fail to help them to leave the review. And what ends up happening is that they will, you get them drummed up, they go and they buy the book, and the first thing that stops them is, I got to read it first before I leave anything. And second off is that, life happened. I totally forgot. I need to go back and actually leave the review. So what I recommend to all of you doing is that break out an Excel sheet. Okay. Anybody that you are connected or know, go ahead and put your, their name, their email address, and just kind of mark the last time you talked to them and where they are in the process. That may sound like you're being a pushy salesman, and there is a fine line between pushy salesman and just helping people, right?
Hmm.
Your friend wants to do something about it. He just kind of totally forgot. But helping him say, hey, no problem. Here's the link. Just go ahead and click that and do this, and you should be good to go. Well, awesome. You made it easier for them. But
Right.
track it all the way through. We did an experiment, and out of if 10 people say they're going to leave a review, 1 to 2 will actually leave a review.
Hmm.
But if you remind the others that said they were going to do something, you'll start to make that number 8 to 9. Okay. That's how you get reviews from the things you've already done. Just keep on it. Be very cordial, be upfront, and you'll see better results.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that free course that you're offering on AMS. I'll have a link in the description so people can sign up and take it. I was telling you before we started here that I took it last week, and I thought I kind of understood AMS. I've had some success with it in the past. I've also seen it cost me a little bit more money than I thought it was going to, but this course just completely shook my foundation on what um, I could do with Amazon ads. So talk about it. What can people expect to get from this free course that you're offering?
Well, we talked a little bit about Facebook ads, and the hard part being is that, you've got to convince somebody to leave Facebook to then go to a different platform, aka Amazon, and decide that right now is the time to buy. That's a lot of crazy marketing tactics you got to do to get that to work. Amazon created AMS, Amazon Marketing Services, which allows you, like we talked about, to show your book in front of market. Here's the thing. AMS is wonderful because you're not having to convince people that they should buy a book. All you have to do is convince them to buy your book because they're there seeing your ad because they're shopping for a book. You now have the opportunity to get that book in front of their eyes. So it's much easier. And unlike with Facebook, they're ready to hit the buy button. They just don't know which one. So you can turn your efforts into sales directly. But the thing about Kindlepreneur, we talked about it, is it takes forever to write these articles, right? And I hate's a strong word. I dislike immensely writing an article where I feel like, well, this may give the person the understanding that this is a great thing to do, but man, they need to know all these other things to actually get a result. And I tried writing this article on AMS, and it just kept getting longer and longer. I think we get about 6,000 or 7,000 words. And I was like, nobody's ever going to read this. At this point, it should be a short book or something like that. And I'd probably go even further. It could probably be a 60, 70,000 word book. And I said, my goal is to make sure that people learn enough on a tactic so they can turn around and get results. And the best way to do it was a course. And what was funny was that I was like, okay, we're going to do a 4 video part course. I was like, no. I started doing it. I don't know. What is it, 18 videos or something like
Quite a
that?
few in there.
Yeah. But because I didn't want to leave something, and I wanted to make sure that we did it for both fiction and nonfiction and famous people and first book ever people, so that we could see all the different things that are involved and see some of the things that other people are doing that gives them the competitive advantage. And so, yeah, that was the course in a nutshell. If you take that course, again, there's no, you don't have to pay anything. And nor is you get lifetime access to it. But it gives you an opportunity to see if this is the traffic skill that you want, if this is the thing that you want to make you have a competitive advantage over other people, then there you go. Now it comes down to gaining experience. I've given you the knowledge for free. Go out there, use the money you would have spent on that course or something for your ads for your own book, and
Right.
start to learn and focus on it.
One of the biggest things I got from it was, I might mess up the term, but what you called just, was it grouping the different, is that what you called it? When you were
Yep.
just grouping all the different keywords or search terms or whatever. And
Based off the psychology of the person that would type that in.
Man,
Yep.
I was just
So
like, when I saw that, I was, wow. Go ahead.
the only difference maker that we can do, so you have your cover, and I'm not going to try to tell you to change your cover, although sometimes that's probably the best thing you could do is change your cover, and your title, that your title is your title. But what you can do in AMS is you can write a ad copy, something that convinces them to do what they are supposed to do. Now that's technically supposed to be your book description, right? But what's cool about AMS over all the other books is you get to write whatever it is you want. Well, let's face it, if my book is about, what's a good example here? Okay, like when I did Pat Flynn's Will It Fly, right?
Mhm.
And this is his nonfiction book about how to validate your book idea, or excuse me, validate your online business idea, whatever it be. When we started to look at the keywords, we were able to break it up in the type of person that would type in these certain types. Some people were at a point of they just wanted to make money online, and there's a whole slew of keywords or different ways of writing that. Some people had a business in mind, but they were trying to figure out if this one thing would work. Other people were just looking at entrepreneur books because they wanted to grow as entrepreneurs. And each one of these was a different group, because each one of these deserves a better statement that stops them in their tracks and says,
Mhm.
oh man, this is the book for me. Okay.
Right.
So the person that's like, maybe I can make money. Well, they don't have a background. They haven't succeeded yet. They're looking for their first, dollar.
Right.
The person who has a business that's looking to take it to the next step needs to learn the next step. And as you can see, to convince that person that this is the right book for them would be different words. So
Right.
group your keywords, okay? Think about the psychology of the person that would type these in, and then write the best sales pitch to that person, and you will instantly see increases in clicks. Now, hopefully your book description is good enough to convert them to a sale.
No, that was just, as soon as I went through that lesson, I told my wife, I was like, man, I have just totally screwed up on my AMS before, but I'm excited about implementing that over the next couple weeks with some of my current books and seeing the results. Another big one that I got was because I looked into this and I didn't um, use it as a keyword, was using another, a famous person's book or title. You can't use it as one of your keywords, but you
Your
can
Kindle
use it
keywords.
as is your Kindle keywords, but you can use it in your AMS. And I was just like, oh,
That's right.
that's a game changer, a potential game changer right there.
Absolutely. There are a lot of books I love to put my book next to, and
Totally.
AMS gives you that opportunity. And they're okay with it. That is not bending the rules. They even say to do it
With
in their
talk
fine
about,
print. Not obvious. And that was the
yeah,
thing. We created the course because Amazon really sucks at teaching us how to do some of their stuff.
right. Yeah. Hey, talk about the cost of ads really quick. What can people expect to spend per day? Is it going to be something that's going to cost them 20, 50, $100 a day, or?
Actually, you're in complete control on how much you want to spend per day. You can tell Amazon, look, I only want to spend like $2 a day, or five, or 10, or 100, or 1,000, whatever it is. You can tell them, and they will run your ad until they hit that mark, and then they stop for the day, and then the next day they'll do it again. The cool thing is too is that the cost per clicks. So remember, you only pay Amazon if the person clicks on your advertisement, not if people see it.
Mhm,
And so typically you're looking at somewhere between 5 cents to 20 cents.
mhm.
Okay. If you're paying more than that, if you're going above 20, I'm telling people right now that that better be the juiciest, greatest keyword, that you're willing to spend extra for that keyword because it's so perfect. Then go for it. But typically what you'll end up seeing is that if your book is a good fit for that keyword and you continuously get clicks, your cost per click will actually drop, because Amazon's like, man, let's show this more because it seems to really make the customer happy. And there's a whole video in that course where I explain that so-called psychology of Amazon and how they try to balance between happy customers, getting paid for advertisement, making the advertiser happy. It's a wonderful triangle.
That's awesome. So 20 cents, less than 20 cents for the keyword is what you want to set typically for your cost per click. Is that the same as the bidding? The what is
Yes.
it
So
is?
you can put it this way. I want to spend $5 a day. and I have these 400 keywords, and I only want to spend like 20 cents or less per click. And then Amazon will show you based off of that. And sometimes you may set it at 20 cents, but they end up coming back and saying, it only cost you 5. So
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, all right, man. I hammered through every single one of the points I wanted to get through. So
awesome.
I loved this interview. This was golden, my friend. Thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me and my followers here today. How can people get in touch with you? Where can people find your info? Here's your chance to just plug away.
Sure. You can go to kindlepreneur.com, and I've got a contact me page there. Just go ahead and hit up. If there's something I went over too quickly or so, just type in your question there and I'll make sure to answer it.
Awesome, my friend. All right. Thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate it once again.
All right. Take care.